Have you ever set a big goal or are working on something really important and the timeline isn't quite living up to exactly what you want? And you keep being told, have patience by your guides and other humans, and that's just proving a little bit difficult. In today's video, I am going to share with you some reasons why your timeline might be a little bit off, both practical and spiritual. I'm going to share with you tips on what you can actually do to make this process easier so you have more patience. And I'm going to close out with a Reiki session to help you build patience. And at the same time, release attachment to the timelines you have. Let's start with the spiritual things. The first is your incarnation plans, and the second is your purpose. So let's talk about incarnation plans. Before you come here, you determine what the goal is of this lifetime and how some of that might play out. In fact, we often plan multiple lifetimes at one time so we can get a steady progress for our soul. If the goal that you are working on is in direct conflict with your incarnation plan, or just not even on it, it's more of a sideline issue, your guides might be on purpose blocking the progress of this particular goal because it doesn't align to what you want. Now, I know this can be insanely frustrating because I have experienced it in my own life, but what it does is help you get directed towards where you need to be going. So what can you do about this? Well, not a lot, but what I will say is you could work with your guides to understand what your incarnation plan is, and if this isn't part of it, then to begin to pivot instead of wasting more time trying to go after something that's not meant to be. The other thing that you can do is working with your guides if it's not part of the incarnation plan or it's a very mild thing and you really still want it, working with them to see how you can still do what you came here to do and still work on this. Which leads me to the next part of the spiritual blocks, and that is your purpose. Your purpose is actually different than your incarnation plan. Your purpose is the broad category of what you want to achieve in this life. A lot of times we think it is one specific thing. I have to be an elementary school teacher. That is my purpose. That isn't the way that purpose from a soul perspective works. Instead, it is something broader, like I want to help children be their best. And that can transmute and come out in many different ways. You might be a teacher. Maybe you become a performer who does, Disney works. There's many, many different ways that your purpose can manifest in this life. With that said, if what you're working on doesn't have anything to do with your purpose, then it might not be working because you're supposed to be going in a different direction. Now, I see this the most happening with my clients when they've kind of hit that point where they're doing what they thought they wanted to do or what their parents wanted to do when they were younger. And as we get older, we keep doing what we said we wanted to do because we're taught not to quit, and it might not be in line with purpose at all. And so it might be time for you to determine if it is actually time to pivot so you can align to purpose, and those are incarnation plans. So now let's talk about some practical things that happen that may be blocking your progress. The first is an unrealistic timeline. You might be making progress and you might be on purpose and it might be in line with your incarnation plan, but you as a human have a very unrealistic expectation of how things are going to go. Let's take an issue that a lot of people have, and that is weight loss. So you want to lose weight. It's not against purpose. It's not against incarnation plans. There's no reason, there's no lesson that is blocking that. But you've decided that you want to lose 5 pounds a week, and that's not practical with your diet and the time you have for exercise and your workload and your family load. It's simply not practical. But you would be making progress and be hitting your timeline if you dropped that to a pound a week. So really assess, is this a realistic timeline for me to achieve this goal? Now, the next thing that can be an actual practical issue is you need to pivot something within your goal to make it work. A lot of times we set a goal and we plan out how we're going to achieve it, and we just keep going and going and going, even if something isn't working right or we don't like it. And so oftentimes what you need is actually a pause to reassess, is the plan still right? So kind of going back to the weight loss example. So you've retooled how much you're going to lose because it was an unrealistic. So you dropped it to one pound a week. Maybe you also need to change when you do your workout and maybe how that aligns to when you eat. You might need to pivot some of the how in order to make it work. Very rarely do we set a plan and it works perfectly the first time around. When we set goals, we have to adapt and change as we get more information in order to achieve our goal. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is you might need to fine-tune your skills. So let's change up our example from weight loss to maybe you're trying to become the first chair of the symphony violin in your city. Well, you might keep applying and trying out every time the chair comes open and you're not making any progress. And it could be you just need more work on your skills. So do you need to hire a new coach? Do you need to practice more? Or maybe, do you need to move to a smaller city so that you can try out in a smaller environment and get that chair and get experience and more practice and then move to a bigger city? So it could be that your skill set needs expanded. Okay, so let's say none of everything that I've just talked about is working. There is no spiritual issue or you've taken care of it. There's no real big practical issue. It's simply a matter of waiting the time that it takes to achieve it. How do you stay focused, stay grounded, and stay happy and motivated? So the first thing is take breaks. You cannot work on your goals nonstop without doing some sort of miniature break. So in our weight loss example, that might be you have a day where you do let yourself eat a little bit more. Or in your workout, you have a couple of hard weeks and then you do an easier week. You have to build time into your plans to allow yourself to rest and recuperate. So the next thing, kind of piggybacking off of the take a break, is self-care and energy care. These are separate because you want to be doing these on a regular basis. It doesn't matter what your goal is. It does not matter what you are working on. If you are not taking time to renew yourself and your energy, you will struggle to meet your goals and stay motivated. So what does this look like? Well, with self-care, you're going to want to look at mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical self-care and make sure that all of those areas are well balanced and that you feel nurtured and restored in each of those. It's going to be different for everybody. I do have a journaling live session that I did on how to figure out what works best for you. I will put the link to that in the description so you can go there, do the journaling exercises, and figure out what works best for you. Now, with energy care, what am I talking about here? We all have energy, and that energy can become depleted the more that we've burnt ourselves out, the more exhausted we are, the more we're taking on from other people, and you need to have energetic sovereignty and energetic wholeness in order to function at your best. The easiest way to do this is with Reiki. Do a daily Reiki video to help you rebuild your energy fields, or maybe a guided meditation. If you want even more information on how to manage your energetic sovereignty, I have an entire course on it that helps you actually build a self-care routine and daily practices to manage that. I'll put the link in the description for that. Now, the final tip I want to give you to help kind of get you through it is take the time to chart and track your progress. Sometimes we look at the big goal, like if we're trying to lose 50 pounds, we're like, I'm still 30 away. But that also means that you've lost 20. And so you want to take some time to chart and track those little wins that you get. All right, with that, I actually do want to end this with a little bit of Reiki energy to help you release attachment to your timeline and build more patience. Before I start that, if you do have any questions about any of this, put them in the comments and I will get back with you. And now let's do our Reiki. Let's go ahead and set some sacred space where we are happy, contained, and whole. Allowing our guides to protect what comes in. And let this space be tethered and connected to the earth, so we don't start to drift away. And let the Reiki flow now. Reiki, Reiki, Reiki. Build patience and release attachment to our timelines. Releasing old ideas and thoughts around your goal. Let new ideas that need to come in, come in. Releasing all judgment you have towards yourself about where you should or shouldn't be by now. Trust that exactly what you need will show up exactly when you need it. Trusting in divine timing. Trusting your guides are leading you on the right path to exactly where you need to be. Let this be your reset point. Let this be your new breath of life into this goal, into your patience, into this timeline. Allow it to happen exactly when and how it's supposed to happen, trusting the path, trusting the process. Let it be, let it be, let it be. Thank you for joining me today.